Alright everyone, hello and welcome into the day where we learned that Ryan Poles of the Kansas City Chiefs will not be the next general manager of the Minnesota Vikings, and since he was only one of two finalists for the job, that means it looks like Kwesi Adofo-Mensah of the Cleveland Browns will be the next general manager of the Minnesota Vikings. As of this recording, it is not yet official. He actually just left TCO Performance Center right before I hit record on this video, and there's a clip going around on the internet, on Twitter anyway, that I have retweeted. If you follow me at Schoolhio, you can see it, where it sounds like as he's leaving the building, somebody says, "We will cancel your flight. Let us know if you need anything." So I don't know what the Vikings are doing not announcing this right here, right now. Maybe they're just trying to stay out of the way of the Hall of Fame voting for baseball, which just happened. David Ortiz has made the Hall of Fame and no one else. But we're not here to talk about baseball. We're here to talk about Vikings and their next general manager, who looks like is going to be Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. He was the only other candidate to get a second interview out of the original 8 candidates that the Minnesota Vikings brought in for interview. So Ryan Poles took the Chicago Bears job today. He was supposed to have an interview tomorrow with the Minnesota Vikings, but I kind of expected that the Bears were going to get their guy when I saw this tweet, this photo here of the Bears owner picking up Ryan Poles at the airport. And in my opinion, when I saw that, I was like, there's no way that they're doing that, and they're not going to immediately hire this dude. They know they want him. So Ryan Poles is out of the running. He is with the Chicago Bears, and I think Kwesi Adofo-Mensah is going to be your next general manager of the Minnesota Vikings. I will pin the top comment, or I will pin a comment here when it becomes official on this video as the update rolls in. So let's talk about Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, what this means for the head coaching search going forward, and where we go from here. So a little bit of a resume here for Adofo-Mensah. He has a bachelor's degree in economics from Princeton, earned a master's degree in economics from Stanford, was a vice president at a law firm doing commodities trading on Wall Street for a little bit until he jumped into football, where he started with the 49ers in 2013. In 2013 to 2017, he was a manager of player research and development. In 2017, earned a promotion for 2 years, 49ers director of research and development for players. And then he got a job with the Cleveland Browns as Andrew Berry's second-hand guy. His title given was the Vice President of Football Ops. And today he is likely going to be the next general manager of the Minnesota Vikings. And for a lot of people who were worried about the analytics background that he's coming from, the Wall Street and the economics background that he's coming from, it has been made known that he was considered a very highly respectable guy when it comes to football knowledge. You know, the reports say that Andrew Berry, the general manager for the Cleveland Browns, viewed him as an assistant GM, and he was involved in very big decisions that they made regarding their football team and their personnel. And he has scouting and contract management experience with all of his time with the 49ers. So don't assume that this is just some guy that they're picking up, you know, from the nerd village, if you will. It's not some dude who knows nothing about football. I think that this guy is taking his educational background and his experience in economics and applying those principles to the world of football, which, you know, there's a difference and there's a learning curve, but I could see where this could be applicable. So don't freak out. And if I could just throw this out there, you know, as I said before, once we learned that Ryan Poles and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah were the 2 finalists, I said that I was going to be happy with either one of them. I'm probably more happy with this choice, if I'm being honest, because I think if you go back and watch the video I made about, you know, when we found out that these were going to be the top 2 finalists that they were going to interview the following week, I think I said somewhere towards the end that Kwesi would be my preferred candidate, and that has come to fruition. It almost never happens that way. I do want to pull up this quote here. I will put the whole thing that he said in this interview on the screen so that you can pause and read it, but the part I wanted to point out was at the bottom. He said, "I will pick every person's brain. You find some amazing knowledge from everywhere in this league. I would say that is where my evaluation base comes from." So very interested to see the direction that the Minnesota Vikings go from here on out, having gone from Rick Spielman, a guy with a scouting background, you know, old school approach, pushing 60 years old, to a guy who has a Wall Street background, Ivy League education, very, very smart in economics and the free market, comes in at a very young age. I believe he's only 32 years old. He has experience with two, different organizations, one that has been run very well for a number of years in the 49ers and one in the Cleveland Browns that has sort of turned the page, if you will, going from a factory of sadness to a respectable competitor year in and year out, in my opinion anyway, having grown up and spent a lot of time in the dual market that is the Browns and Steelers area. So what does that mean for the head coaching going forward? So the head coaching search is still going on. And, now we're looking at connections, like who is Kwesi Adofo-Mensah connected to? And it feels like nobody from the Cleveland team is going to be a part of this, because, they're looking for coordinators, and I don't think any of Kevin Stefanski's coordinators or anyone on his coaching staff is getting interviewed anywhere. So I don't think he's going to bring anybody from Cleveland, but there is all of the connections that we can look at from the 49ers. And the number one candidate that comes to mind is DeMeco Ryans, the defensive coordinator for the 49ers, former linebackers coach, former player in the NFL. He kind of jettisons to the top of the list, in my opinion, with the fact that Kwesi is going to be the next GM, unofficially as of right now. Don't forget, check the pinned comment. But, he comes to mind. Raheem Morris comes to mind. I think those are your top two candidates. It kind of feels like maybe, and I'm just throwing this out there, maybe we dodged a bullet not getting Ryan Poles from the Kansas City Chiefs to be the GM, because the Bears look like they're headed in the direction of either Dan Quinn or Jim Caldwell. Now, I love Jim Caldwell. I think he's a great coach. I just don't see him as a fit for Minnesota in the new direction that we want to go. I don't know enough about him to realistically and honestly say that he's old school, but that's the vibe I get. Jim Caldwell has been successful in the league. I think he got a raw deal in Detroit, if I'm being perfectly honest. They saw Matt Patricia was available, and they're just like, okay, we're going to go this direction. We're done with you. I think Jim Caldwell had one, massive losing season because one of his starting quarterback had to have neck surgery, and they went 3-13 that year. But other than that, I think Jim Caldwell has been a good head coach, and he will get a second job. I'm just not interested in going in that direction at this time, and I have no interest in Dan Quinn whatsoever. So maybe we dodged a bullet in not getting Ryan Poles, because it looks like they're going to pair him with somebody who is super experienced, whereas we go with Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, it looks like they're not really concerned about that approach. And they may be going in the direction of getting somebody who is also young and ready to go, because, the ownership has talked about this new direction that they want to go in, where inclusivity is important, collaboration is important, and communication is important. So, and it looks like they've got a very good communicator and a collaborator in Kwesi here for the general manager job. So it'll be interesting to see what influence he has on selecting the head coach, whether it's DeMeco Ryans, Raheem Morris, maybe even Kevin O'Connell. I think that's his first name. Is it Kevin O'Connell? I think it's Kevin O'Connell. Correct me if I'm wrong. There's just so many names going around that I can't keep track of. Everybody. I mean, like there's even the speculation that Jim Harbaugh could be, part of this because of his time with the 49ers. Because, Kwesi spent a number of years with the 49ers. I believe about 4 or 5 years total, maybe 6. So. And that's also something to think about. If you're scared of his analytical background and the fact that he comes from, economics, think about the time that he spent with the 49ers, being an absorbent sponge of information with that organization and working his way up the ranks. They put together a pretty good team in San Francisco the last, 4 to 5 years. I mean, look where they are now. They've been to the NFC Championship game a couple times. They went to a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. They made the right hire in Kyle Shanahan. In my opinion, I think Kyle Shanahan is a pretty good head coach. They found players like Deebo Samuel. They can plug any running back they want, even though that's probably more of Shanahan's system than anything the GM has to do. But they find guys like Jeff Wilson Jr. and Elijah Mitchell and people that can contribute regularly. They found George Kittle. So yeah, I would say that this is a pretty good hire. I'm very excited about the new direction. We're making a total 180 here. We're going from my biggest complaint, which was this team being stuck in 1995 with old school philosophies from the Bill Parcells era, and we're going in a completely new direction, and I couldn't be more thrilled about it. So let me know what you think in the comments below. That's going to do it for me for this video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.